Hi, everyone. It's Liva, Craig, and Constantine. Thanks for joining us back for a roundtable Q&A. I really enjoyed our talks, and I hope the audience did as well. And also, as for the audience, if you have any other questions, just please write them in the Q&A or the chat box, and we'll try to get to them. But if not, we can just go ahead and see what the questions are for now. Okay, so maybe let's start with, who should we start with? Let's go with Liva. One question is that we've gotten from the audience is, how do you think we can talk about our achievements without feeling like we're bragging?
That's a really good question. Well, I think, there's always people who are going to think you brag, and there's always people who will appreciate you talking about your achievements. It's really hard to find that fine line because I feel like everyone's defining it differently. I definitely had a lot of feedback saying that I brag, and then I have a feedback that's saying that I'm actually genuinely discussing and talking about the work and improvements and things like that. So I think if you just use passion and you feel like whenever you share something and it makes you feel good, don't worry about how others may receive it. It always can be good or bad. I think it's just getting a thicker skin by filtering out all the negative feedback.
So just find the right people as well, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I don't think there's always right or wrong people. It's just how people hear you. Again, it's different perspectives. If you have good intentions, not everyone's going to see that you have good intentions, and vice versa, I think.
That's true. Everyone has their own kind of mental state already when they talk to you, so you can't really affect how they feel, I guess. That makes sense. Cool. Thank you. I'm sorry, by the way, you're all kind of coming from very different backgrounds, so the questions might be a little bit all over the place in terms of topic, but that's okay. I have a question for Constantine, which is, do you think attack protection methods progress as quickly as AI? So is AI advancing too fast for us to be able to protect ourselves against it?
I don't think that AI progressed too fast, because actually, personally, I'd like to see even more progress with AI, but we see that knowledge about AI, how to use AI, spreads broadly, and it has become a common tool for many people, and all those people are different with different intentions, and that's all. We shouldn't protect ourselves against AI. Yeah, we don't need to protect our system against AI. We should protect against. We should build protection against attackers. That's common point. So, and AI is a tool of goodness. I believe in that. We can reach a lot of progress in many different areas like healthcare, management, and malicious use of AI is only a choice of people.
That's interesting, because I feel like there's definitely several perspectives of how AI is, and some people are very negative and are very, very much afraid of AI advancing humanity and the whole.
I understand. But what is important, we have to be conscious. We have to think what we do. We have to care about our content. That's true. We should care about it a lot. And yeah, modern world will become more complicated, but not because of AI, just because this world is better connected.
So you're not afraid of a Terminator situation?
Absolutely not.
That's good to know.
I'm afraid of some examples how AI could be used. Some enterprise companies or government against their people. That's a real problem. I think we should set up and maintain our global community of AI researchers to protect our personal privacy, our personal life. Because it's easy to turn personal life of anybody in a nightmare now. It's easier than it was a couple of years before. And we need a community.
For sure. Craig and Liva, do you guys have any input? I know it's not your topic in AI, but I think it's definitely been on a lot of people's minds these days.
Well, what I really like is the younger generation kind of feels a lot more connected with it than, for example, a lot of times us, because we're not really used to like ask Google or Siri stuff normally, because it's not necessarily in our DNA. We haven't really used it with like I text message, I call, but I don't really have a chat with like, oh, okay, Google, like find me this and this, because I'm not really used to it. But if you look at, for example, I don't know, like Gen Z, they're using all these voice messages and everything else. So I think the next generation will be so much more open and so much more positive with that, and will going to be so much more easier to implement that in everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty old school in that sense as well. But however, I mean, obviously from a work perspective, things as simple as, implementing a chatbot for a client, there's definitely scope and scalability there. So, I mean, it's not about whether it's coming or not. It's a matter of time, in my opinion. Eventually, we're all going to have to adapt to it. But I guess it's how, as Constantine said, it's how you scale it out and how does it add kind of real tangible value to what you're doing. And that's it for me. But I mean, I'll still pick up the phone and call people versus sending a voice note. That's just how I operate, though.
Would you get an Elon Musk
Hell no.
Neuralink implement?
Hell no.
Cool. Yeah, it's stuff. Yeah. Let's go to a different topic a little bit. So one question for Craig is, so you work with different manufacturers, but how do you pick them? Like, do you focus on specific like aspects? Like, do you look for like specifically more like ethical sourcing, sustainable sourcing as well? Is that an aspect? Is that something that's important for you guys as well? Or
sustainable sourcing in this particular field is, I wouldn't say it's a main driver. I mean, if you look at the types of fields that it operates in, if you take test kits, for example, that comes down to, how is it built? What are the certifications? What are the standards that go along with it? And that then drives your quality. We were also pretty biased in terms of where these manufacturers came from a geographical perspective, because obviously certain countries have more of the right legislation where you automatically buy into that trust by nature. Now, obviously, I mean, these are medical devices at the end of the day, so they do need to meet a certain minimum threshold from a global standard, which we had to learn very quickly before we actually went out in the market for them. But it's black and white, and it's kind of sort of trial and error as well. But typically the way it works is we would leverage on. So, I mean, we didn't start with everything at one go. We kind of started with masks, which is what we kind of dug into first. And from there, it kind of grew and spiraled out into something else. So it is a learning, but yeah, I mean, in terms of purely set standards, no, they're very. There's not much deviation on the production side. So there's certain minimums you've got to meet, and that's just the way the product is.
Yeah, that makes sense. But do you maybe see yourself, because you are more in this like medical sphere, but do you see yourself pivoting back to your more original?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, that's still our daily bread and butter, and I mean, that's something we're passionate about for sure. But for now, I mean, this was a super exciting endeavor, to be completely honest. I mean, from an educational standpoint, you go from knowing nothing about a topic to then kind of becoming a semi-expert in it almost, because you've got to learn, right? That's the only way you can obviously promote it and market it in the right manner. Do we want to do this long term? Probably not. We do enjoy our digital play.
I mean, ideally, you won't have to do this long term, right?
Correct. We've got bigger issues if we need to keep doing this long term, for sure.
Cool. Thank you for your answer. Okay. I have another question for Liva, and maybe you guys would also be interested in this, but so I'm curious what the most challenging project you worked on was, and also what is your favorite project you worked on, and whether or not these two are the same or not.
Oh gosh, challenging. Well, it's not necessarily one project that's challenging, but I think the most challenging setup for a project is when you actually go into the brand's headquarters and work from there with them. It's the best way of working, but also the most challenging way, because you're entering somebody's house and then you're trying to figure out how to improve something and slowly kind of deliver suggestions for these improvements. I think that's a little bit harder than just pitch or present something for further away, because then, yeah, I think it's a little bit of the personal space and entering that space of brands. But the best project, what has been the best project? Oh, there's so many of them. I don't think I necessarily have like the best one, but the ones that I enjoy most of all, if I would have like an intern or a junior on a project and they would come up with like a core direction and execute that. And I think that pride of having somebody in a team that comes in with a fresh look and feel and creates something unique at the end, I think that's definitely makes those little projects that I have in a way a lot more meaningful, because as I said, like shared ownership is a very big part of my beliefs, and if on the way in that shared ownership, I can make somebody very proud of creating a massive part of it, it makes it so much more better.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you guys? Do you prefer like working more alone, or do you work in a team primarily?
No, it's a team game, 100%. Your success is driven by the strengths of other people coming together. I fully agree with that. But when it comes to projects being challenging, I think it's at least my experience has been the case. It's challenging clients versus challenging projects per se. I think the projects in most cases are not easy enough, but they're pretty straightforward in terms of the structure of the process that you go through to kind of get to that end solution. The bigger challenge is getting client buy-in and kind of that relationship management play. That's the challenge. I mean, this is a people business at the end of the day. But yeah, and in terms of fun projects, I think any of the work that I've done in Formula One, hands down, is my most fun work that I'm proud of, without a doubt.
Yeah, I totally agree. Software development is a people's business, actually, and challenging clients, that's good, versus challenging projects. Probably our challenging project was to set up data engineering together, DNS traffic for 1/3 of the world, to provide sophisticated solution for fraud detection based on DNS project, on this DNS traffic. And if talking about project what I enjoyed the most, that was completely different. I enjoy practice of pet project in our company, what I'm driving, and that's the project I most enjoyed was chatbot for to find patents, to serve USPTO or EPO in a chatbot and via Slack with some sophisticated option, because it there you can leave your traction, what was your got interested in this landscape of intellectual property, and how this chatbot could be supportive. We enjoyed it a lot in our company, but it was only a project. We use it generally for our purposes, just to research intellectual property over the world easily, and got valuable insights for us. Look, guys, you were interested in this particular area. hear some news from USPTO, which could be useful for you. We enjoyed it a lot, actually, yeah.
Cool, that makes sense. Thanks for your guys' answers. It's really interesting. Let's see, what else do we have? Well, one question that it's maybe it's a little bit that you guys already answered with your favorite projects, but like, what do you most enjoy about your jobs? Like, what makes you kind of get up in the morning and do this all over again?
Oh, okay. What I enjoy the most. I'm enjoying the most. I study everything. I'm getting new knowledge almost every day. Yeah, I work with the smartest people, and I'm working globally. That's absolutely great for me, and I like to be to feel myself like a captain of a spaceship. That's what I feel when I'm working every day. Because we are moving towards the future. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think for me it's the people, because I work with friends, and getting up every morning and meeting up with them and figuring out where we can push that project, or where we can push the boundaries, or how we can pitch for this or that client with a group of friends is possibly the best part of the job.
So it kind of works like play, not really work anymore.
Yeah, it's part of like it was very interesting. A couple of years ago, I went for like a mindfulness session or whatnot, and this girl was like, "Oh, like you need to feel in your private life like you feel at work. So work and your life is the same thing." And at that time, I was like, "Oh, this is nonsense." But now, older I get, more I appreciate the fact that I am surrounded by people I want to be surrounded with, and feel like I'm working together with a friend group. So I would feel like I'm at work, similar like I'm off work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's definitely valuable for sure.
Yeah, not to sound cliche, but I completely agree with Liva. It's the people, we operate such a remote kind of play and across three such diverse geographies that, it's I think we lost Constantine.
We lost Constantine? Okay.
And yeah, working across geographies, across these cultures and everything else, that every day we know we're working with some of the brightest and smartest peoples in those respective fields. And it's the same goal, it's the same motivation, we're all on the same page. And it does become a bit like a passion project, where it's not a chore. I mean, granted, we give everyone the freedom to work from a beach to wherever they want, which definitely helps, but it is very much that you wake up loving what you do and you just go about doing it. It becomes less of a job in that sense.
For sure. Yeah, like we've talked in the backstage a little bit as well, where you're okay working more hours if it's actually your thing.
Absolutely.
For sure. Thank you so much. Well, I'm actually out of questions, but do you guys have anything you would want to learn from each other? Do you have any questions from?
I mean, I'm just amazed. I mean, the positivity that Liva brings to these conversations is very good. Like, I watched her talk and I was just like, wow, definitely the happiest, most positive person I've met this year, without a doubt. So kudos to you.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree, and I'm amazed with you have a child and everything running around all day, and then you still like look up and just like are shining. It's really cool.
No, I actually, if I have to be honest, I'm terrified of going back to normal life, because I feel like the whole working from home and just literally seeing the same setup every day has completely changed any kind of capability of socializing properly. I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore when I socialize with people.
That's why we do Zoom calls.
There you go.
2021 is going to be very interesting when life will go back to normal. You'd be like, so this is a real life meeting. Oh my God.
One would hope that those real life meetings become a little more efficient than what they typically used to.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so, really. Like, and also let's just see, let's hope people realize that we don't actually need all that many meetings. Sometimes they can be solved in a text message even, or a short email, and that's everything you basically need sometimes.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, I think that's basically it. So unless the audience has any more questions, but I don't think I've seen any new ones pop up. Yeah, I just want to say then thank you guys for joining me again for this Q&A session. I had a really lovely time talking to all of you. And yeah, thanks. Hopefully you stay for the second part of the day. We have some more really cool, interesting talks lined up. So please tune back in. But for now, I'll see you later. Hopefully you stretch out a little bit and join us for a healthy food cooking class. This time with Georgian flavors, so it'll make you wish that you were in Tbilisi in person. So maybe next year. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and hopefully see you later.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.